Welcome to In the Garage with David Andres. I am Andres.
I'm David.
And David, today we're going to go a little freeform, but since we jumped right into having a guest last week, didn't get a chance to check in with you. How you doing, baby?
I'm good. Summers are kind of weird for me. I'm sure you also, like anyone that's a dad, it's a different shift, right? And their responsibilities and their routines. So my son, who's like my partner now, where we play ball together, we go work out, like we watch the same stuff. He's at sleepaway camp for a month. So
Okay. Ooh.
I've realized how much time there is in a day when we don't get to do our kind of stuff together. And then my wife's a teacher, so she's taking care of a lot of the home duties or errands or whatever else and like just kind of home stuff. So it's nice, like the amount of stuff you can get done in a day when it's not the rigmarole of school and carpools and doctor appointments and dentist appointments for the kids and all of that. Have you found the same?
Yeah. I mean, I think yesterday I could say was one of the more productive days where, like, I finally plugged up this hole that we had where we have just an AC return that I guess the AC used to be in that spot, but it no longer is. So basically, we've just been pulling hot air from the attic and just venting it out into the living room for the last 8 years that we've lived here. So we
Florida
finally took care of
problems.
that.
Definitely
Yeah,
Florida
baby.
problems. Anything AC related.
Yeah, and so it's been a thing where we're like, our house is like really humid all the time, like like to the point where like our powdered products, like say powdered Gatorade or salt, like they clump up on their own. Like, what the fuck is going on in here? So we finally had a guy come in and take a look around. He's like, "Yeah, this hole doesn't do anything, and it's pulling hot, steamy air from your roof." It's like, okay, well that's probably bad. So we did that. Um, on 4th of July, our microwave just exploded.
Oh,
Guess
I
wanted to get in on the fireworks,
I was gonna say like that
and
wasn't part of the 4th of July plan.
it was a little preview. Um, so like just as far as what was going to go on. So yeah, the we had to install it, and it's a pain in the ass because it's a over range microwave,
Sure.
and so today we gotta finish that bad boy up because it's not deep enough, or it's too deep into the thing, so the door doesn't open all the way. It's just yeah,
It would
little
be a
bevy of
good
problems.
place to input like a that's what she said joke somewhere in there.
Yeah, so we gotta jam some fucking shims in there or fucking spread it open.
I've got like 8 different
Sure.
things I could say. All I don't know which ones. It's like a drop down menu of like a Family Guy episode. Like, should I say like, is that one good? No, that's funnier. Like, all right, yeah, sure. Reminds me of 3rd grade.
Yeah.
That's not appropriate. I probably shouldn't. Yeah, I could get canceled for that one.
It's all right.
When you,
I'll
it's funny you mentioned like how productive you've been. How does that affect you? Like you asked me like, how's your week been? How you doing? Does that help you? Like, do you find that that helps your overall well being?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a matter of momentum, right?
Mm.
Because literally, well, today's Thursday. On Tuesday, I met with my therapist and was complaining about how I was kind of in this weird place where like I wasn't getting things done because as soon as I tried to do something, say that I deemed productive, I was starting to get like I'd immediately get overwhelmed with it.
Mm.
And not for nothing, but I think my antidepressant has just kind of stopped working because I've been exhausted. Like
Yeah.
every day, no
Yeah.
matter how much sleep I get. And like, so yesterday was a good like case study in that where I'd slept for like almost 8 hours. Um, and I took a lower dosage of it and didn't feel as tired,
Oh,
but like, still some of the effects of it. I felt more motivated to do things. I was no longer feeling that overwhelmed by things. So it's like, so today I'm just kind of I'm gonna see what happens if I don't take it. Like for example, all of my muscles don't hurt right now, which has been a constant thing where like I don't know, maybe that's part of what's exhausting me.
and just a
So
quick
it,
PSA just to make sure, like, is this with the guidance of the doctor, or you're just doing this on your own?
I'm I'm being very careful on doing it on my own. Like a 1 day thing. Like tomorrow I'll go back to it because I do know the risks of like coming off of or like not like doing it on your own. I've
Yeah.
um that didn't go well for me the last time I tried that, and so uh, I don't feel like shelling out the money for rehab. Although it was a nice 30 days off, but the last time I tried that on my own, that's kind of where it landed me.
Yeah.
And um, but I want to get some data points to share with my psychiatrist
Okay.
because my therapist she suggested, okay, there's definitely something going on besides what you know, just feeling exhausted or like mentally like fatigued. She's like, this has been every time I talk to you, you're telling me that things are good, but you feel exhausted.
Yeah.
What's the deal? She's like, there's something going on with you. And this, as best I can tell, like this is the one thing that I have, like that I necessarily take that would give me that sort of uh, effect over like during the day.
One thing we
The other
that
weird thing,
our doctors, not to interrupt, but it reminds me, I talk to so many people in our age group, whether it's our friends or other people, and I'm reading stuff online all the time. And there's a big push now in women's health and women's mental health and how it's affected by hormone changes with aging. I haven't looked as much for guys though, but I know like I'm very open about it. Like I did all this testing and endocrinologist, my doctor, neurology, because I was like going through some shit. And they found like I have markedly low hormone levels, like testosterone. And there's
mm,
correlations are like this could have been like started 20 years ago when you started having more symptoms of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, stress. So they put me on a testosterone cream that I've been on now for 4 months or so. And, with my anti anxiety that I take, I've seen marked improvement, like energy, the tiredness, like you're explaining, is not there as much. Um, my recovery from the gym is almost immediate, like I don't get sore anymore. And my mood has definitely been better. So I don't
sure.
know if you have any appointments soon just for like checkups, but you can always ask next time you go for a checkup to do a blood panel and just look at your hormones just to see because it's never a bad idea to rule out. Like it's all a giant fucking science experiment, right? Even for the doctors, they're just trying to figure out by crossing stuff off a list. Like, well, it's not this and it's not this. Like, well, we're left with this or this.
Yeah, I mean, I typically go quarterly or 3 times a year
Yeah.
to get my blood work done. Mainly because I need it for one of my prescriptions. It's got to be updated every 3 months. But uh, so I've kept an eye on that. Like, and I trend like to the like mid to low on my
Mhm.
testosterone. But like I talked to him about it, and he was like, yeah, like the only bad thing I can say about this is that if you wind up with some kind of cancer, this acts like gas on a fire
Yeah.
to it.
I was told the same,
Um,
which is why they do the blood work. Like I have to get mine every 3 months and they just
okay,
do like a
yeah,
PSA measure. But if there's no history in your family where like, listen, like every guy in your family has gotten prostate cancer by the time they're 55. Like this runs in your DNA, they'd be a little more wary about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it like, you know, and this is kind of a callback to last week when we talk about like checking in, right? Like,
Yeah,
so I'm cognizant that like, all right, the tiredness thing has been kind of, a little excessive. I'm cognizant that like it's a combination of the fact that like my fucking insurance company couldn't get its act together to get me a new CPAP machine when mine like broke,
sure.
um, which is, you know, part of it. But also one of the things that I was able to reconcile or at least recognize, my therapist helped by sort of leading me along the way with the questions, not necessarily leading questions, but like asking, okay, so when do you not feel tired? And so this will take us into our topic for today. And I was like, well, I don't feel tired when I'm around like my friends and family.
Hmm.
Like I don't like there. I feel energized, and I feel like normal. I feel like normal me. I'm chatty. I'm like in a good mood. You know, joking and like feeling sharp versus where I'm at home and like over the like when I'm feeling this sort of dragging, it's like I don't feel that sharpness. I feel dull, right? Like, and so she was like, okay, well, you know, there's definitely something to be said for the fact that this social activity is re-energizing you.
Hmm.
And so that got me thinking, about the concept of a third place. I think the first time I heard it was on that show Bar Rescue, where like
Oh,
that guy John Taffer just starts screaming at like these bar owners who are just completely incompetent. Like, but he talks about the concept of a third place, which is your first place is home, your second place is work, and then like your third place is you know bar you go to, a coffee shop, a bookstore, somewhere where like you can feel comfortable, sort of like at your first place, but you're not necessarily having to behave in the same way that you behave at home. You can kind of be yourself, whatever that may be.
or a Turkish
Um,
bathhouse.
well, especially a Turkish bathhouse. That's my fourth, fifth, and sixth place.
Ah, so
It's
full disclaimer, when you first told me your idea of talking about a third place, my hearing is not great because of years of music and concerts. And for about 5 seconds, I'm like, third base. Like, I love the third base. Like, ages 16 to like 19, I was all for third base. Like, I was a third base king, triple hitter, always. And then it finally registered well, like, oh, like a third place. Right. Like an environment.
exactly.
But I
Um,
love the topic because it correlates really nicely with the other things we've mentioned before about community, hobbies, interests, um, filling those different needs or like filling your cup, so to speak, with all the different things that you need in order to be like really mentally well.
right. And And it's like, because I'm literally, like, in the thick of it, right? Like, in the middle of, like, feeling kind of run down, whether it be by medication or, lack of quality sleep or a combination of the 2, like, being able to go to, like, say, my 3rd place, which is a local brewery around here where like we've been going for like 10 years at this point. I say we, like my wife does yoga there on Sundays. I do trivia nights there on Wednesdays. Like those
Yeah.
are kind of like our special days, but then we kind of build like for example, when my wife does yoga, now she's friends with the yoga people. And so like I'll show up after yoga because I find yoga to be exhausting as a concept in itself. But uh, so I'll show up afterwards and have like a beer with everybody, and it's for us, it's like a comfortable place where we meet up with our friends, and we
Mhm.
we like even if there's like if I don't know anyone there, I'll sit there and I'll chat with the bartender, or I'll sit there and just be on my phone and like just be in a place where I feel comfortable. Um,
It's
and
funny,
so like,
the psychosocial and even somewhat sensory aspect of it too, it's the familiarity, right? Like, you're
mm,
going to this same place, and it's also you have this kinda schema or idea for this place. Like, this is a place of relaxation, community, relationships, engagement. You almost like it's almost like your church a little bit, right? Your safe haven.
sure.
Um,
I mean, I would hint that it begs a different question if a local brewery is kind of like my church where I feel safe. But I get what you're saying. Like, because I don't feel like I have to be anyone but who I am. Like,
yeah,
it's just a
yeah,
matter of
and you're not on the
people
clock.
there. Yeah. Um, and I mean, I've had different third places over the years, depending on like the nature of where I was working. Like, it just happens to be that my first and second place are home. Maybe that's why it's so exhausting to be here. But
Mm,
um, I would say like it is something where people should think about, like, where do we have something like this? So I would say to you, David, do you have a third place where, like, you feel comfortable, where you can be yourself, or just don't have to deal with the sort of facade of normal
yeah.
social activity?
I mean, for years for me, just because I've learned years ago that, like, part of my self-care and, like, my daily things I need, it's the gym. Like, that's my place, and it's interesting. I'm by nature, like I always say, like, aggressively social. Like, I will make friends with a fucking mouse pad if you let me. But something about, like, I just have my headphones on, and I got my music on, but I'm around people, right? So I'm not alone. I'm doing my thing. I've got, like, my routine down. I have, like, some of the same people that I see. That's definitely the most consistent one. And then there's little places, like, it's almost like I have, like, my 3 and then my 3A, 3B, 3C, where you're
Sure.
kinda describing the same. It reminds me too, like, when you first mentioned it, my thought is always to, like, okay, on a global scale, right, on this big scale in our culture and other cultures, was this more prevalent 40, 50, 60 years ago, where guys had their 3rd place? It was like the men's bowling league, poker night, wherever they'd go, the bar that they'd all meet at after work, the softball, field where they do their men's league, whatever. There's a great book I wanted to reference because I hear about it in the news and it's still on my list. It's called Bowling Alone. It's by a guy named Robert Putnam, like very
Okay.
like famous author, and I think he's been involved in like either sociology or politics or whatnot. And he's talked about all this data and saying like since the 60s, there's been this huge drop in what's called social capital.
Okay.
So his methodology of looking at it is, you know, as humans for 100,000 years, we've always kind of had our third places or we've been in groups, right? We were
Right.
nomadic, we were in tribes, like our brain is more or less evolved for it.
Okay.
So he pushes in his book these third places, like join bowling leagues, join networking groups, join, you know, poker stuff with your friends. Or if it's like back in the day, I mean, to age us, it was the arcade. For me as a
Sure.
kid, it was the mall. Like I was at the mall 4 days a week. I was at the basketball court 4 or 5 days a week, friends' houses more or less every day. But for me right now, definitely the gym. Um, and then just I love being with people. So I don't like being home, especially alone. Like I get what you mean when you talk about that kind of like energy suck,
Yeah.
right? Where I am like a puppy when I'm around other people. So I love being activated socially. But other than the gym, yeah, it's just pretty much anywhere I'm familiar within the community. Like I love doing work out of the house. So there's a
Mhm.
couple of coffee places. Again, I'll go to the mall. I've been to like the food court of my mall with my laptop and headphones, just getting work done.
Okay. It is interesting. I remember back in the day, um, combining the 2nd and 3rd place and, you know, it being almost more of a comfortable place to work out of. So, like, it's funny you say that about the mall food court, just kinda like being surrounded by people.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, I don't have statistics because I'm not good at pairing for things, but I'd be curious to see the rise of these kind of 3rd places, in conjunction with, like, historic, large, traumatic events
Hmm.
like the wars, right? So,
Yeah.
like, after the Civil War, I believe, there was a rise that kept going through, like, through the end of World War One
Hmm.
of basically, like, fraternal organizations. So, like,
Mm.
think the Masons or,
Yeah. Yeah.
like the Elks Lodge and whatnot, and
Sure.
so, like, these places, like every town had, like, a couple of, like, different fraternal organizations that, like, guys would just go to and, socialize because they it was not necessarily known that you had to do it, it was just sort of like an instinct, and before you had, like, a telephone that you could call someone, like, this is how you were gonna get your news, this is how you were gonna discuss the topics of the day, and then, that's how you got your, I guess, I believe it is the 2nd, Ku Klux Klan is kinda came out of this. It was actually,
Huh.
like, a couple of marketers that, like, were tasked by this guy who was like, "Hey, I wanna start my own, like, social club, like, and, all the other sort of niche markets are taken. Where could I where could where are we, where is there, like, an availability?" And they were like, "Well, there was this group called the Ku Klux Klan back, during the Reconstruction, and, they were kinda popular. Let's rebrand that." And yeah, a lot of people don't know there's actually been 3 different Ku Klux Klans, with kind of different, focuses on who they wanted to hate. But the second one started off mostly as like, they would just go around and like be like, put on like fairs and whatnot. And
Yeah.
then they sort of veered into like, oh yeah, by the way, we hate Catholics and Jews. and, uh,
I
and
can
so,
imagine the guys what they had to explain to their wives. Like, oh, this is great. You met a few guys, you're going out like to this social group, whatever. Like, yeah, I need like a sheet and I need scissors. And yeah, I might not be back till like after whatever. And just, you know,
right.
don't ask
Yeah,
questions.
it's like, yeah, you seen that movie Birth of a Nation? Yeah, it's kinda like that, but, like, not as
You
violent,
know
like, we're
what's
gonna have a
interesting?
picnic.
We talk about, because this is really focusing on men's mental health, and you talk about the rise of these organizations. There wasn't as many for women, were there? And I don't know the names of the dead. I mean, you have some that are very specific, I think, for historical purposes, like, what is it? The Daughters of the Revolution or whatever else,
Right.
but not these kind of like camaraderie service groups, even like Knights of Pythias. Um, God, there's a few more that I know. It's almost like it gives permission for guys to get together and just shoot the shit in an organized, structured way, where women didn't need that because a lot of them probably just naturally did it at the salon, at one of their houses, at a Tupperware party, at a birthday party. It just happened more naturally where,
Sure.
we almost needed the structure in place to get that type of connection and brotherhood that we crave.
Yeah, and well, I think, uh, to to that point, I'm sure, churches like church
Mhm.
or temple or whatnot served as that sort of place for women where like maybe because first of all they weren't allowed to get credit cards until like the 50s.
Yeah.
Like that was somewhere where it was expected that like they were going to go, so that was their social place
Mhm.
versus men, I think. And, this may just be myself, but I feel like while we want a social place, like we also want to be a little bit choosier as to who's there.
Yeah.
And so like things like dues or having someone like nominate you as like a new mason or whatever.
Mhm.
That sort of like keeps the people that maybe you don't necessarily want to deal with out. I don't know. Like I think women are less picky unless you're talking about the Daughters of the American Revolution, which is like a very waspy. Like yeah, we came. My great 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 grandfather came over on the
Sure.
Mayflower, and if you're not that, you don't have that
You know
pedigree.
what? You know what I
Fuck out.
observe? And one of the things when you brought it up, these third places, with my 18 to 30-year-olds I work with these guys, their third place many times is something or somewhere online.
Yeah, but
So it's a
I
a
think
Reddit subgroup, it's a VR something, um, that's or it's Discord, that's their third
uh,
place.
how do you feel about that? Because I think that sort of negates so I get the shared kind of, you know, group think where you can kind of bounce ideas off of people, but I think, like, there's something to be said for the, in-person, like, sort of
Completely.
just, like, 'cause the way I put it or the way I think of it is, like and maybe you've experienced this, but, like, for me, like, I've gone to concerts where, like, everybody's just really thrilled to be there, and there's just, like, a
Yeah.
natural energy that happens, like, when people are, like, excited, they're, like, really, like, fired up, there's
Mhm.
no negative vibes, and that energy, like, creates a better show coming the band can feel it, they play a strong show, the audience is into it, like, it makes the whole experience better, um and I don't think you can necessarily replicate that online. Um
No, and to your point, um, you can even tier some of these types of environments interactions. So when I'm with like a 20-year-old and we talk about, well, what are the environments you're in? Who do you interact with? We talk about the social nourishment where like
Mhm.
the top is, and it's funny you mentioned like a concert. That's my third place also, but I don't get to do it as much. So being on a stage, playing in front of people, or being in a concert, listening to people play, if I could, I would do that 3 or 4 times a week.
Sure.
And that to me is like almost the top most nourishing thing you can do. It's up there along with like you and 4 or 5 of your closest people and you're doing whatever, whether it's fishing or a vacation. And under that might be like something similar, but it is online, but you guys are if it's you could see each other and you're talking and you're laughing, you have a shared experience. Just there is, like, I believe too, and I'm sure there's gonna be science that eventually kind of supports one or the other because that's the way data works and research works. But, like, preventing this kind of chronic loneliness, stress, mental illness, I think that's a very big part of that whole puzzle.
Yeah. No, it is. I pulled up some benefits that are documented in journals, and like one of the lines that I like is a third place can improve one's quality of life by providing spaces where one can rest, escape from the mundane, socialize, and
Mhm.
emotionally discharge.
Right.
And I think the emotional discharge, I think that's the one where you wind up getting the sort of the biggest benefit, right? Like if you're sitting there and like at a I go to the brewery and I'll sit at the bar and like I want to bitch about like my family or my friends or whoever, the dogs. Like,
Yeah.
you know, otherwise I'd be fucking podcasting every day, just bitching about my, like the things that are pissing me off. But instead, like, these poor people have to sit there, serve me a beer and like listen to me go like, ah, fucking dogs again. Like they ripped apart this
Yeah.
fucking thing, like, or whatever. And yes, you're paying them and they're going, "Oh, really?" Like, they even though it's not necessarily probably, like, quasi genuine, but probably not only they don't probably give a shit. They've got their own problems. But the fact that
Uh,
it seems like somebody is commiserating with you, like, it
yeah.
gets that out. That's therapy, you know?
Yeah. I I always talk to people too who blend, like you said, their first, second, and third places. So they're at home all the time. It's their home life. They work from home. They're carpooling kids around. So that, and then they just have to rush home and then dinner and homework. And you can see when you start picking out, like, all right, like what are the environmental factors that are causing these high levels of stress or, externalizing depression, whether it be through like anger or more irritability. They don't have that safe place or that place where they do get to like emotionally discharge or connect with others or wear that different hat. I learned recently the term, not that recent, but masking,
Mm,
right? So I work
okay.
with a few young adults that have to do it a lot at work, where they put on like that neurotypical voice, face, all of it. And then they come home and they can like just take it off and be themselves. And it's good, but sometimes that even like fucks up their home life where like it might cause relationship issues or more discourse. But then they do have a third place and they are really themselves.
Okay.
And they've noticed and I've had to like point out to them like I know you don't think this is important because you're working and you're busy or you have like this like this is one of your needs. Like this is non-negotiable. So Andres, like you have to go to Lauderdale. Like you haven't been to trivia in like 3 or 4 weeks. That correlates with you probably having less energy or being in a shittier mood or whatever. Like you probably need that more than you realize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it is interesting the way these things kind of can happen organically.
Yeah.
I think part of the issue is like there's no like template for it, right? There's no you can't say like, well, just find go see a shit dive bar down the road, just go there and hang out. Like, no, that's that may
Yeah.
not be the answer, right? Like you may just be around a bunch of like really depressed people that are just going to like a dive bar. But like, it's interesting how, like I said, it can happen organically. Like, for example, a place that like sort of turned into a quasi third place for myself and my wife was
Mhm.
when the kids go to play ice hockey, right? Because one, it's air conditioned, and that's always a big bonus for us living in South Florida, especially in the
Yeah.
summer. Um, two, we find that the parents are very similar, like, in kind of what they're into, right? Like, a lot of these, like, especially the ones that really care about hockey, well, then they're there all the time. And there's like a nice restaurant attached to to the rink. In our case, we're very fortunate
Mhm.
because kids play on the Panthers practice ice. But like, yeah, we see these people like when we take the kids in there, it's like, well, we know who's going to be there, and we happen to like them, so we're going to go over and say like, hey, what's up? Shoot the shit with them for a while, while the kids are practicing. And it's like a pleasant experience,
Yeah.
which, yeah, like it, it could be a completely different experience for someone that's like, God, I hate all these hockey parents. They're just so like, they act like their shit doesn't stink, and like all they care about is like pushing their kid to be better at hockey, blah blah blah. So yeah, like I said, there's no necessarily template for it. It's just like one of those things that when you feel it, and you may have to try more than one place, just like where you can
Absolutely.
feel like kind of comfort and community around you.
Mhm.
Kind of getting back to last week's conversation, because he mentioned community so much, and it was like, what does community mean? What does community mean? I was like thinking about that, and it's like, yeah, community is just people who relax in the same way you do, maybe. Like people that feel
Yeah.
comfortable in the same environment that you do.
You're
It
having a
doesn't
shared
have to be your
experience.
neighbors.
Right. When
Yeah,
you look at, and you've been to it, and I've gone through it when I was, like, in a psychiatric hospital. Most treatment programs, whether it's for people dealing with PTSD and some kind of related trauma, rehab, mental health, decline where it gets, like, very severe, they always make sure the majority of your day is built around activities with a group, being in different healthy environments, outdoor stuff. And it's too bad, like, well, how come you have to wait till it gets that far to then build these things into your life? That should be built
right.
into your life right away. Like, it's harder down here because where we live, but I've done, enough traveling in my life where I meet other guys. Their third place is, on this lake fishing with whoever. And maybe they're alone in their boat or on their pier and they're not talking to anyone, but they're not alone because there's other guys fishing and doing stuff and they kind of feel like, well, I'm part of that. Or if it's hiking or camping or more outdoor stuff. And I'm very jealous of those people. Like 6 months of the year, I don't want to leave air conditioning. Like if you look at me, like I am not supposed to be here. I should not be this close to the equator, like at all. Um, But that's one thing I always recommend to the guys, the younger guys I work with in their late teens and 20s and 30s, of finding that third place and being flexible, like you say, with it. It doesn't have to be this template and this very organized, structured way. It has to be organic, or it should be, and it should fit for you. It should work for you. Where, like, if you hate the outdoors, it doesn't have to be camping or fishing or hikes.
Right. Yeah, like, I mean, to your patients, clients, however you refer to them,
Sure.
yeah, your your young men that you interact with.
I call them all when they so it's funny, I call them all kids, even when they're in their 20s. I'm like, "Well, they're not a kid." I'm like, "They're kids." Like, they're single, they don't have their own kids, all they have to worry about is themselves, like, they're kids.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. You're Dave's kids.
Right.
um, um, if their third place is like this, they feel more comfortable online because they don't like to go outside. They're not
Yeah.
athletic. They don't feel like doing that. Like, um, you know, have people over, like, and
Yeah.
and do these things in the same room together, like,
Mhm.
that's cool. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the LAN party is definitely not necessarily, what people might consider cool or whatnot, but I would say, like, you could make a third place out of being online as long as you do it socially, like, with other people. Like, I see my son doing this where,
Yeah.
he whenever, like, kids come over to play, they wind up play video games together, or like he'll like be on his computer and like set them up on the Xbox so that they're playing on the same server and doing like you know, joint activities, but in the same room so they can turn to each other and be like, yeah, 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 now do this, or like, yeah, like um
You know what
so
I
it,
found with many of the guys, and sorry to interrupt, just if I don't say it,
no.
it's gonna be gone because that's the way my brain kind of works with aging. They found with a lot of guys, any age group, and this is probably through the years and why these organizations started, when the guys have either a joint activity or something they can do, it usually works better as a third place versus you're all just gonna meet up and talk.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
That,
for someone like our group that we've been friends for 30 plus years, we can do that. We have that history and the social kind of connectivity that's already developed. Like, but in the beginning, if you're trying to implement it, it's always, at least I've kind of observed that it's always more effective and they're more consistent with it if it's a shared activity. So game night, like you said, like we're all going to play Cards Against Humanity, or we're going to do Trivial Pursuit to age myself a little. Or for the newer stuff, like we're going to do, that's come back again, like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to create a group and we're going to meet up at different people's homes and I'm going to be the DM. And sometimes we'll do it online, sometimes in person. But for most guys, I always recommend if there is something that you're doing, it's much easier and less stressful and you won't avoid it versus, oh, this is a men's group that you're just going to talk to each other.
yeah. No, I agree, because I mean, yeah, not for nothing, but like that puts pressure. Like, and the last thing you want is to feel pressure in your third place to be something, right? Like if you're not a talkative person, like um I would say like, yeah, that would suck. But
Yeah.
if you happen to be like, you like to listen to people talk, like it still might be the right place for you. But
Mhm.
like, all right, now like there's this there's this pressure on you, and I think that stymies the whole like being able to just kind of like be who you are, who you want to be, or not really who you want to be, but who you are when like you, yeah, don't think that like anybody's necessarily paying attention or judging. You know, I mean, when I was transitioning out of the military and sort of like getting my feet back in the civilian world,
Mhm.
like my third place was a strip club. Like at a strip club, nobody cares who you are, and like you go with a couple buddies, like it's a good laugh. There's something about the environment that sort of fosters just an air of relaxation, I would say, depending on where you go. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we live in South Florida. There's like a strip club on every corner. So like, you know, it's
That's
not
fair.
necessarily like it's not like we're going out of our way driving 2 hours to
To
go to one.
use
But
my
like,
therapy voice and language to your point, you have to be your authentic self.
ooh,
So if you're not good with the big group, like it doesn't have to be a big group. Right? Your third place
yeah,
doesn't have to be like, oh, it's I meet up with these 50 guys and blah, blah, blah. And it's like overwhelming and stressful, but I force my like it no, it doesn't need to be that. It could be like you and a few people and you do this thing or you go to this place and that's your third place. And it's even if, like you said, you're a little more introverted, you're on the quiet side, if you're just like hanging out at the library and like you're always kind of reading your book there and there's people and it might happen naturally. You see some of the same people, you start talking to each other, somebody asks you what you're reading, but it's a lot more low key and laid back. I only bring that up because the library near my house, I just discovered it has a second floor after living near
yeah.
there for 16 years, and it's
You
beautiful,
couldn't
like, it's
you
great.
couldn't see that from outside.
I did, I just never I think my visual spatial skills are really off, and I see a staircase, and I, like, finally went up there one day, I'm like, "Holy shit, this is really nice." There's, like, beautiful lighting and windows, it looks brand new, I'm like, "I could hang out here." So
Yeah,
I always recommend to people, like, get out of your house sometimes, like, And stuff does happen organically and naturally. I always tell a lot of young guys if it's harder for them to initiate contact with others, use your clothing or something else to kind of let people know or to invite them to bring up conversation. So if you're like a hardcore, you know, punk rock guy, go out with your Bad Brains t-shirt and somebody throughout the day is going to be like, "Oh my god, that's fucking awesome shirt."
Sure.
Right? And it's a lot easier
Yeah.
because they initiate it, and then it turns into whatever. So those third places, it's nice because it's an inexhaustive list.
Yeah. Because as I start thinking about it, it's like, yeah, maybe it's just my natural ability to just make myself at home wherever the fuck I go.
Yeah.
Um, but like, you know, once I think once you feel not necessarily, it's not a it's probably not a conscious thing, right? I think it is probably definitely a subconscious thing that like
Yeah.
if you feel like comfortable somewhere, if you are like just in your in your element, so to speak, and you're not like feeling like you're being judged or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be, right? Like you feel comfortable, um, like that radiates off of you. Like that you
Yeah.
give off a different energy. You will give off the sort of energy that makes you probably approachable. Um,
I
you
use
know,
the term, "Where do you feel most at peace?" Or like you said,
that's
like yourself, like I am because I am extremely extroverted, like I've always felt so comfortable on a stage with a bunch of people looking at me. I feel sharp, grounded, connected, calm. It's weird, like that most like 90% of people say like that's when they're the most stressed, like that. I'm more stressed if I'm just like having to meet someone new for like a lunch date and it's one on one. Like that's where I feel the pressure. And I get like
sure.
very in my head and anxious and worried about panicky and like, oh my God, I'm gonna like act like whatever and have to fucking leave because I'm about to like throw up or pass out or who knows. But
Yeah.
I love that idea of when you're most calm, yourself, at peace, that's how you know this is a really good third place for me.
So let me ask you this because it is interesting that you bring up being on stage, as far as like comfort. You know, is it necessarily that there's something that switches off where you're just like, I don't really, I'm going to get up here, I'm going to do what I do, and I don't really, you know, care what people think or care like what I look like doing it, or is it
I
just,
think I
you
have
know,
an oh, go ahead. Or is it just what?
well, yeah, I was gonna say, or is it just, just the idea that like you've got all these eyes on you and you just are like to perform.
I think part of it's probably like an overinflated ego for certain things, which I shouldn't have, but it's there. Like if it's something like performing, like I've done it for so long. Like the first time I got on a stage in front of people, I was 18 years old. So I've got 30 years. I've been in bands, I've toured, I've, I've given presentations in front of 2 people and 1,000 people. So part of it's just you get used to it. Um, Another part of it too, I think, like it's just very grounding. It's a very present thing where if you're too in your head, you're gonna fuck up. Like you have to be so mindful and present, and it's almost like a high. It's almost like you're so sharp. A lot of athletes talk about it, right? Like when you're in the zone, you're like not even thinking anymore. You're just performing. Um, I love that feeling. Like I've always chased that feeling. And that's
Oh,
like
you're
why I've said that's been one of my third places. Like I have fantasies of, seeing one of my favorite bands and like, oh, like our drummer just hurt himself. Can anyone fill in for this song? And like, I always have like a kick pedal and drumsticks in my car, like, like, and I don't even care if I'm going to play good or not. Like, it's just like so exciting. And I think also because I crave that connectivity with others, I can feel it. Like I could feed off of that joint connection, that joint experience, that it's like a drug.
Yeah, I, you know, because as you kind of talk about it, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm completely at peace, but I do get that feeling of being in the zone
Mm,
necessarily. Um, and I do like recognize that for what I'm doing, like some people like to skydive, right? Some people do cliff jumping, but like for them, like that's not as terrifying as like going up on stage in front of a
right,
crowd and just like
right.
playing some music. So like I'm always kind of curious about motivations for being on stage. Like quick anecdote, like my kids, every year now they do like the school talent show and they get up there in front of like the entire like all the parents, like all the kids, so like at the carnival, whoever's at the friggin' carnival,
Yeah.
like and so like this past year, like, I didn't even know what they were gonna do. Like, my son was like, "I'm gonna do some jujitsu moves." We're like, "All right."
Ah,
And we get there, and, like, it was his turn to go up, and, like, the kid he was supposed to do the moves with, like, just bailed on him,
yeah.
and he's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "I don't know, like, ask your friends, like, see if one of them wants to go up there with you." He's like, "Okay." And, like, he just, like, winged it, like, did his jujitsu moves, like, just kind of, you know did a little spiel real quick and like got off and like it was like, listen, like good job, man. Like, no one knows what you did or
No.
if like whether or not like you messed up or you didn't mess up. Like that's what you do. And then like my daughter went up there. She's usually pretty timid. And I was like, like I didn't even know you were signed up for this. She's like, yeah. And like she went up there, or before she went up, she handed everyone a piece of paper
Uh-huh.
and like taught them how to make like an origami crane
Oh,
and
nice.
like did it like step by step, like
That's
this like
adorable.
carnival audience. And I was like to me, that's even like that's got to be even more terrifying. Like to just be like, all right, I'm going to hold your attention. I'm going to make you do something. Yeah, it's one thing for
Yeah.
like people to like look at you, but it's another thing to be like, all right, I'll fold this and do this.
I find for me also, and I've explored this with my therapist, when you're on stage or presenting or performing, you have a lot more control.
Oh, interesting.
And I feel
Yeah,
comfortable with that role. So even if I'm like meeting people, I feel more comfortable doing more of the talking because I'm a little more in control than just sitting back and hearing everyone talk. For whatever reason, that's just how I'm kind of wired and what I learned. And yeah, but this has been,
yeah,
I'm very glad this was kind of impromptu because it gave us a chance to really not prepare, but like, this is what pops into our head when we think of these things. And this is what's kind of natural, meaning typically a lot of other guys probably think similarly or like have these same ideas.
yeah. And I think, like to that, to be able to sort of put not necessarily like a box around or a definition around it. It's more to like for the people that aren't quite getting it, but they would like to like have this sort of other place in their lives where they can feel like they can be themselves, you know. Um
So just to recap and make sure, third place, not third base.
Not third base. Third
Not
base,
third base,
they sing
totally different. That's a whole nother podcast.
yeah. Um not Ace of Base either. But, but yeah, so third place, not third base.
Correct. And
Got it.
finding your third place, finding that place that you have in your life where you're most at peace, you feel your best, you feel like yourself, you get all those kind of needs met. Totally important. Absolutely.
But you're around people. Like, the
You're around
can't stress
people.
it enough.
Right. Just
A
because
Reddit.
maybe you want to be alone doesn't mean you have to feel alone. Put that on a shirt.
Ooh,
You like
I like
that?
that.
I'm coining that one. We're a little TM and small font
Yep.
after that one.
Fuck
But
yeah.
speaking of, I'm gonna start my day. I see a bunch of young adults today, so I'm gonna probably bring some of that up with them and see what they're doing to make sure they have that third place in their life.
Yeah. No, I think, everyone, because no matter what's going on, as long as you can get that break, like,
Yeah.
you can work towards fixing everything else. Like, as long as you can get away from it for a second.
Well,
So it's
thank you,
been
Andres, as
been
always.
interesting, David.
Yeah, I love it. We'll be back next week. The next few weeks, we have a few guests lined up, so I'm super
Mhm.
excited. If people want to follow us and find us, can you share with us those information?
Yes, David. I'm glad you asked. You can. The main place to get us is our Substack, in the garage with Dave and Andres at Substack. That's where we do our most of our postings. That's where we initially post the podcast and the videos, and from there you can get the podcast at in Spotify or Apple Podcasts in the garage with Dave and Andres. Additionally, if you want to email us with any comments, just saying hi, questions that you might have for us, you could get us at in the garage with D and A. That's in the garage with D and A at Gmail. We are on YouTube. If you don't like the Substack way that it shows the videos. Our videos go to YouTube as well, in the garage with Dave and Andres
Mhm.
on YouTube and on social media. We have a Facebook and Instagram page, in the garage with Dave and Andres, both of those. So hit us up in any or all of those places. We love to hear from you.
Yes.
And David, if there's nothing else, I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
We'll see you next week. Later.
All right. Bye.